Hi there and welcome back to the channel. I'm Mike and I'm excited to share another Divi tutorial with you. My goal here is to make learning Divi as straightforward as possible. So today we're going to have a look as to how you can add some animated buttons to your Divi hero section. So we have 4 tutorials in total. If I just refresh here, you'll be able to see the animation come over here. So scroll down, and if we scroll down, we get another one here that just keeps continually saying scroll down. And if we go down further, we get the one that looks like a little tag saying scroll. And then the last one looks like a little mouse animation, a mouse button or mouse scroller. I'm not sure. But if anything, if any of this looks interesting to you, just hit that like button and let's jump right into this tutorial. Okay. So the first thing we'll obviously need to do is we'll need to add a new page. So I'm using Divi 4 for this tutorial. And so I got animated buttons demo, and I'm going to use the Divi builder. So obviously in Divi 4, when it comes up, it's going to ask us, how do we want to do it? Well, we want to build this one from scratch. So before I jump into the modules themselves, we just do a little bit of changes here to the section settings. So I'm not going to use all of the fancy gradients that we did in the demo there. Instead, I'm just going to keep this a little bit simple because the focus is more on the actual scroll itself, on the button itself. So I'm just going to make this button the same as what it is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I also want to make sure that the height sizing, I also want to make sure the height is 100 VH. Okay, the reason we do that is because then it pushes the full screen of the person, whatever you're viewing it on. So this is going to help us to separate, so we don't have any overlapping animations that we'll see later on. Okay, so save that, and let's jump right into the first things. So the very first thing we wanted was a text module. And this text module, we just want to say number 1 tutorial, and go design text. I want to make sure that this is enter. Let's make it caps, make it the green color we see here. Maybe push this up to about 20, and then let's center that. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that. Then we're going to jump in, we're going to add in another one, Divi 4. Okay, just make a couple of things there, and we go and add here. Okay, heading. So the heading we're just going to grab for this one so that we don't have to retype everything every time. Okay, throw him in, and we go design, heading text. Let's make this one, it's Anton, and must be bold. Make it centered, white, and we'll push this up to 75. Okay. I think sizing, we need to just do a width here, so a maximum width of 75. Divi too fast. 75%, and we obviously want to center that. Okay, so that's that done for the header. The next thing we wanted to do was the text. So it's this text over here. And I just want to put that in quickly there. Okay, let's go and just do a bit of styling there. I'll keep all that the same. We just want to make it white, and maybe this one make a little bit better. Okay, and then I think it also requires the maximum width. Let's make this one 70%. And then put it in the center. Okay, that's all done. So this one I can delete, this one I can delete. Now what we want to do is we want to start work on the actual button itself. So to do so, let's add a new row, a nice single column row. And in this single column row, we want to add a blurb. In the blurb, for the title over here, we can just type in scroll, and then let's take out any content that we have inside. All right, then we want to make sure we use an icon, and we want to use this icon, this little arrow pointing to the right. Okay, let's go design. In the design, we want to just go and do a bit of styling. So let's make this icon green. Let's also place it to the left, and then we want to make this 50. Okay, then let's jump into the title text. Once we get there, I think the title text, let's also make this enter, make sure it's all the same. Let's make it caps so that it's nice and easy to read. And we want to make it the same color. Bring the size down a little bit so that it's not too in your face, but let's also spread it out a little bit using the letter spacing. And then our line height, let's make that the same as what we made the icon. We don't want to make it EM, we want to make it pixels. Okay, there it lines up quite nicely. All right, now what we want to do is we want to work on the positioning a little bit. So let's come to width, and width over here, let's make that 132 pixels, not percentage. Divi 4. All right, module alignment, let's put that to the center, and then we want to make sure that it points down. So to do so, we can just go to transform, and we go to transform rotate, and then here on the x-axis, we just make that 90 degrees. Okay, and there it's pointing down for us. But maybe there's one more thing we want to do, and that is we want to change the arrow to be at the bottom and the scroll to be at the top. So to do so, we can just jump into advanced, a little bit of custom CSS we can add. Right here in the main element is just direction RTL, so right to left. Okay, and there we go. So scrolls at the top and the arrows at the bottom. Once that is done, we can actually start going and doing a little bit of animation. So jump back into the design, go animation, and for this one we want to bounce it. Ooh, which way? We want to bounce it down. Slow it down a little bit, maybe 5,000 milliseconds. I want to delay this by 400 so that it doesn't just do it straight away as soon as you open up, but it's a bit more of a gradual one. And then we want to make sure that this is from left to right. Okay, that looks good. Save that. Let's publish this. And then let's go see what that looks like. So if we go here, all pages, view, and we just pull it across. There we go. So that's the first animation done. All right, let's move on to the second button. Hopefully it'll be go as simply as this one. Duplicate that section. Change the top here to number 2. Save that. And then let's scroll down to the button itself. Okay, so this one is pretty much the same as the previous one. The only difference here will be the animation. All right, because for this one, we're going to add a slide animation that begins with the scroll button being hidden above the row container and then ending with the button hidden below the row. So it'll just keep scrolling and scrolling up and down. So we're going to put it on a loop. Okay, so the first thing that we're obviously going to need to do here is on this row, we're going to make sure that visibility, horizontal overflow, set to hidden. Right? The vertical overflow, set that to hidden. Okay, once that is done, you can save that. Right, next thing we want to do is we want to update this blurb. So if we go into the blurb settings here, we want to go to design, transform. I'm going to jump into this transform translate. Make sure you uncheck this link, and then we want to put the y-axis 115. Okay, so basically it's just going off the screen, so you can't see it there. Let's go and do the animation, and we want to slide this animation. We want to slide it down. We don't want it 5,000, we want it 4,000. Animation intensity, let's bump this up to 195%. Then starting opacity, let's make this 100%. And the speed curve, let's make it linear. And we also want to make it a loop. Okay, and you can see it's already starting to play out over there. So let's save this. Save. And let's see what that looks like on the front. Okay, so we have our first one. And our second one is working as we had hoped. Okay, so let's jump into the third one. So once again, we're just going to duplicate this section, and then we jump down, change it to top here. This is tutorial number 3. Save that. Okay, so this one is going to be a little bit different because what we're going to do in this one is we're actually going to combine a blurb and a text module. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is we want to jump in and add a new row at the bottom here. Oh, sorry, not add a new row. Well, let's delete that row and then add a new row. Okay, it's still a single column row. And we want to add in the text module. Okay, in this text module, let's also just put here a scroll. And then we want to update the settings here. So actually, first thing we want to update is the background. Make the background green. Okay, once that's done, let's come here, text. Let's change this text color to the same as the background there. Scroll. And then we want to do a text align. We want centered. Okay, then we want to do a bit of sizing. Okay, let's change this width down to 50 pixels. And we also want to make sure that this module is aligned to the center. Then we want to do a bit of spacing. For spacing, we want to make sure our margin bottom is 0. Set to 0. We want a padding, we want top and bottom to be 20. And then we want rounded corners. Take this link out that we want it in the bottom left and the bottom right. Okay, so 5 pixels and 5 pixels. Now let's go and add in a blurb. Okay, we want the blurb. We want to take away the title as well as the content, because what we're really after is we just want the icon. Go and have a look for this one. Yeah. Okay, we want to make sure it's this one here. And then we want to change the color. We want to change also to the green color. And then we want to hit a bit of changing in the spacing because we want to move this so that it links up with the rest. So spacing, we want to make sure that the top margin is -36 pixels. Then it links up quite nicely. All right, but the bottom we still want to make sure is 0 so that there's negative margin will allow that the arrow can then attach nicely. And then just to be sure, we also want to jump into the custom CSS of this one, module elements. And for blurb image, we just want to make sure that it is margin bottom also 0. Okay, we just don't want any spacing at the bottom there. Okay, once that is done, we can save that. And then let's just jump into the row. In this row, we want to make sure that the width, maximum width is 100. Okay, we want to give this a bit of padding as well. So spacing, well, not really padding. We actually want to remove the padding. Okay, so go 0, 0. And then we want to give this a bit of animation. So this whole row is going to have an animation of slide. We want to slide this down. And we want to give it 1200. Okay, so that's looking pretty decent. What we need to do now is, because we want this to scroll out from behind this first row over here, we're going to have to do a bit of settings to the first row. So the first thing we need to do is we need to give this row a background. All right, because we need to give it something to sit behind. If we don't give it a background, it'll scroll down here, but this will still be visible, easily visible. So let's just give this the same background as what the rest of it is. Okay, so you won't see any difference here, but as soon as we make the changes in the things, you'll see that it'll now lie behind. So we also want to make sure we advanced z-index. We want to change this also to 10 or 99 or whatever you want it. But what we want to basically do is we want to make the z-index higher than what this one here is, because the z-index basically says that this is a priority. I want this to show in front of something with a lower z-index. So because this has a higher one, it'll be then displayed in front of that one. Okay, once that is done, let's just also add in a bit of effects. Okay, let's change position, go here to design, box shadow. Let's give this a little bit of box shadow down. All right, so if we scroll down, our vertical position here, we want to make that 80. Okay, so it gives a nice strong one, but the blur strength we want to make 22. And the spread strength over here, we want to bring this way down, minus 70. Okay, so it just gives that little bit of a minimum effect there on top of the tag, scroll, not sure what you want to call it. All right, and then the color that we want here must be the same as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and then there it gives it a very nice effect. So if we save this now, and we save this, let's go see what happens on the front end. So let's just refresh here. Okay, we have our scrolling one. We have the one that just bounces in. Let's go down and see number 3. There it comes. All right, so it just comes out like a little tag and then it stays there. You can loop it, but I think if we saw in the initial demo, it doesn't look so good when it's looped, right? So this one actually looks much better where it just comes in there and then you can see it quite easily. Okay. So let's move on. Things are going well. Things are progressing good. Crossing fingers, it happens the same for the final one. All right, let's jump back into the Visual Builder and let's duplicate this section. Duplicate it, jump down, and first thing we change, just change this quickly so we know it's different. A 4, and we save that. Okay, so the final one is going to be that scrolling mouse one. That's quite a cool one, and I think probably a lot of you are waiting just for that one, because the others they're nice to have, but you don't really see them play out on a lot of websites. The final one is like, it's a little subtle, but it gives you that feel like, okay, something here, it's relatable, if I can put it that way. So let's see how you can do that. Let's just delete this row and add another row. Okay, so it's going to be a single column row again. And in the single column row, we're going to add a blurb. Okay, once you have the blurb, we just take out the title and the text. And then we go image icon. We say, yes, we want to use the image icon. And then we can just scroll down and look for the circle over here. Okay, you select that circle. And then can come into the design side of things. So again, we're going to use this green for the icon color. And scroll down. The icon width, let's set that to 15. So it's a bit small. Then we go down to the all the way down, animation. Okay, animation, we want to make sure we're sliding. Which way? Obviously we want to slide down because this whole thing is about sliding down. Duration, 1200. This one we want to make sure is on the loop. And we want to make sure that the image icon animation is set to no animation. Okay. Once that is done, we also want to go and make sure advanced custom CSS module elements. Again, the blurb image, we want to make sure our margin bottom is set to 0 pixels. Okay. And we can save that. All right. The next thing we want to do is we want to add in a text module right under here. And let's just, okay, so add a text module. And in this text module, all I want to do is I just want to have the words scroll. Okay. So design, text. I want to make sure it's that same green. Probably also want to set this to enter so that it's got the same kind of font colors going. We want to make sure that this is centered. Then sizing wise, we want to put this to 90. Not percentage, but pixels. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to give this a bit of spacing. Give the top 10 and the left -30. Okay, let's save that. Okay, I'm just going to delete these things that I created here. And so we're back here. All right, now we want to go back to the row. So the second row we have over here, the bottom one, if we can just get in there, settings, there we go. I want to make sure that this size is a maximum of 30 pixels. Okay, basically what we're doing now is we're recreating the box. This box that goes around it. Okay, let's jump back in. So then our width is 30. Let's make our height, because you can see it's a bit of a rectangle. Let's make this one double, so make it 60. Then once that's built, we want to go and make the rounded corners. So the top and the bottom. Over here, we want to make sure it's the rounded corners. Let's jump in here. And for that, we go to the border. So borders, let's make this 16 pixels. 16 pixels all around. And we want to make sure that that is 1 pixel wide. So you can see it's starting to form there now already. And we want to make it the green. Okay, still got the box shadow going. We can remove that after we're done here. All right, border style, we want to make sure it's still solid. Okay, then for advanced visibility, let's just make sure our horizontal and vertical overflow is visible. Okay, so once that is done, let's just save that. Let's come back here into the first row quickly, and let's just remove the box shadow. Okay, so that you can clearly see the mouse. All right. In all theory, we should be done. I don't see it happening there though. So let's just go and save. And let's see if that came across. Okay, there's that one. And there we go. It's working. The mouse is scrolling down. All right. So that's how you can quite easily create animated buttons for your Divi site headers or your hero sections. I hope this tutorial is helpful for you. And if it is, do hit that like button to let me know so that it can keep me motivated to create more. Talking about creating more, I will be creating more and more Divi tutorials as I learn more about Divi. So to join me on this journey, just make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't lose out on anything that you might have found interesting. And so other than that, I just want to thank you all for watching and sitting through another long video. And I hope to see you guys in the next one.